All right, welcome everyone to Lead Generation Week. My name is Michael Free. We've got a great session here for you today. I hope you enjoyed the last session. I certainly know you're going to enjoy this one. I'm gonna be a little repetitive as usual, but I wanted to, if this is your first time joining one of these webinars or sessions, it's important to know that we want to encourage you to ask questions. No question is dumb, as they say. So please enter them into the system and we'll get them answered, and we'll either answer them throughout the presentation or at the end. And there's really two ways to go about answering or asking the questions. One is through the mobile app or the desktop app that you have in front of you. Just to the right there's a session Q&A portion. You can write it right in there. We'll see it there. Or on the video, there's a little Q&A icon that you can click on, and that will go right into a Zoom on our side, and we'll be able to see it there. So either way is fine. We'll see them in either location, but definitely want to encourage you to ask questions. So without further ado, I don't want to take any more time from this great session. I want to introduce JT Benton, who is the co-founder and CEO of Workbook 6. JT, I'll let you take it from here, my friend.
Awesome. Mike, thank you much, and thanks everybody who's joined today. We've got an awesome discussion here going. I'm going to just quickly share my screen in a minute, which may take just a quick second, but we'll make quick work of it, and then I'll introduce all of our panelists as well. So just one moment here. Okay. I think we're good. I think we're live with a screen share. So my name is JT Benton. I'm founder and CEO of Workbook 6, just said, and I'm just so thankful to the folks at Lead Gen World, Mike and his team, for putting on such an event. Been able to sit in on a couple of the sessions this week, and they've been fantastic. Over and above that, the networking, the inbound messages from folks interested in kind of learning more about what we all do and how we all might work together in this completely bizarre and extended environment is it's really refreshing. So before I do anything else, I just want to offer my thanks to Mike and his team at Lead Gen World, and of course our panelists. The title for today's session is "Your Borrowers More Than Money, So Why Not Help Them?" This is something that I have been thinking about for such a long time. In fact, it's kind of formed one of the fundamental cruxes of the business that we have at Workbook 6, which is, there are sources of customers that we all know really well, right? Lead gen being a principal channel for all of us, within the lead gen community, and certainly the community that Lead Gen World speaks to. And that's one way of acquiring customers. Another way of acquiring customers is to provide a valuable service to somebody else's customers. And I kind of think of this within the insurance category in particular as insurance as a service, which is a little bit what we're going to talk about today. It's a phrase that Mark later on. But essentially, if we look at experience of a borrower, and for today's conversation, we'll focus on the experience of a mortgage borrower, immediately, so many things change about that individual or that family's scenario. And so we have needs as we become a mortgage borrower that we didn't have before we did. We need to insure the property that we're purchasing. We need to make sure that if anything were to happen to us health-wise, from an injury or illness perspective, that we would be able to meet our obligations as a mortgage borrower. And in the event of something truly tragic happening, an end-of-life scenario, we need to make sure that our is in place such that our heirs are not left with a tremendous liability in the form of a mortgage. And so I was able to lean on some really close friends, in fact, all of whom are clients of Workbook 6, and we're very thankful for that, speak as industry experts on this. Our panelists, who you can all see on video, are Abby Reddy, who's the co-founder and chief marketing officer at Quotacy, which is just an absolutely awesome national life insurance marketplace business that you'll hear about in a moment. Colin Nabity from Breeze, which has built, to my understanding, the best and kind of only digital solution for disability insurance out there in the marketplace, and very, very innovative, a business that we know very well. And Mark Bureau from InsuraMatch. InsuraMatch is a national property and casualty insurance super agency. They are integrated with dozens of carriers, and they have deep experience working in a partnership environment. These guys are not only experts, but they're also very generous with their information, and they're going to share a little bit about their business, but also the ways in which they convene around supporting this type of customer and providing care and service to somebody else's customer. So I think it's going to be a really neat discussion. If you're a lender or you service the mortgage industry or the lending industry, I challenge you to think on a bigger picture beyond your endemic funnel and think about the walk of life of your consumers as you take in this information. And I want you to think about these companies in particular as a potential partner for you. If you have borrowers who are effectively changing their financial scenario, companies like these and starting with these and entrepreneurs like these are providing a solution that will provide a better scenario and better protection for your borrowers. That can only serve to improve your relationship with these individuals because they will be safer and better prepared to meet their obligations. So I'm going to start here with Abby, who's going to tell us a little bit about Quotacy. And Abby, feel free to take as much time as you want, kind of describing your business and working off the slide, but riff as much as you want to. If you go over, we'll just skip Mark's time.
All right, I'll save some time for you, Mark. So yeah, Quotacy, just a quick story about how we started. It came out of a company called Hallett Financial Group. It's owned by Jeremy and Ryan Hallett, brothers. They grew up in the life insurance industry and took over the family business from their father in 2000. So we historically have been the go-between between the financial advisor and the life insurance carrier. So we're the name that the clients up until recently have never heard of. We were behind the scenes helping financial advisors choose the best product for their clients. And then we did all the back office work and all the legwork for that client going through. In 2014, we created Quotacy as an arm of Hallett Financial to go directly to the consumer. And the reason why was the financial advisor and the life insurance agent really typically over the last many, many years is more concerned with taking care of higher value or more affluent clients. And there's just such a shortage of your middle America family that needs life insurance, and there wasn't enough options at that time online to help them. So 2014, we launched Quotacy, and our mission is saving families, and goal of 1 million families, to help 1 million families buy life insurance.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And Abby, you had shared a few thoughts here about how a mortgage borrower can interact with Quotacy and sort of the justifications around thinking about life insurance when you step up and become a homeowner or you move up as a homeowner. Can you just chat a little bit about some of those talking points?
Sure. So a person who buys a house now has an asset, and typically they have a family. So really, home buyers are the type of person who needs to have life insurance. The mortgage is something that is covered under life insurance. If something were to happen, they want to make sure that their family's protected financially, and that is the mortgage buyer. So yeah, we fit right in with that.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I appreciate that. We're going to ask some more particular questions of all of our panelists here shortly. But Abby, if it's okay with you, I'm going to move on to Colin's section and let him talk a little bit about Breeze. Would that be all right?
Absolutely.
All right, nice job. All right. Oh, my button didn't work. All right. Colin has an exciting work from home opportunity that involves network marketing that he wants to talk to all of us about. Go ahead, Colin.
Yes, super thrilling. No, great to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about Breeze. Very similar story to Abby. We have a brokerage that has been around for several years in the disability insurance space, and so our team has been fully ingrained in that space. And about 2 years ago, we started taking a look at what it would look like to bring a product fully online for the first time. If you know anything about disability insurance, the way that it's sold, the way that is explained, the way that the product is underwritten is really archaic. The technology in that space has been really archaic. It typically takes 6 to 8 weeks to get a policy. And so in 2019, we launched what is the first API-driven, fully online, fully automated income protection product. And so very focused on middle-income America. It's been a huge gap that has been overlooked by a lot of people that sell this product. And so that's kind of the space that we play in and where we focus, but very big proponents of the importance of income protection. What our policy does is, in the event that somebody becomes too sick or hurt to work, our policy pays a benefit, and that benefit can be used to cover a mortgage payment, continue contributing to retirement, putting food on the table, whatever that policyholder wants to use it for is up to them. But we've simplified the process and brought it fully online.
That's so cool, Colin. I really think about this in my own personal situation. My wife and I refinanced our house, consolidated some older debts, and just sort of cleaned up our overall financial picture earlier this year, or I guess it would be late in 2019. And one of the conversations that we had was based on how everything is going, we can meet the obligations that are presented by our debt portfolio. But what happens if, I get really sick? This was a discussion, or sick. This was a discussion that happened before the whole frickin' world changed. Critical illness became something that we all became very aware of and concerned about. And so from a timeliness perspective, I'm just so thankful that you're here to talk a little bit about that. Folks, both Abby's and Colin's businesses are really timely in the sense that illness and even more are top of mind. And so one of the reasons that borrowers may be slow to convert toward a mortgage is fear. And their products can help address that. And so I encourage everybody to take a moment to think about how that might integrate into your workflow if you're a lender. I'm, of course, happy to introduce you to any of the folks today. Colin, thank you so much for that overview. I'm going to move to Mark here. And then after Mark, we're going to get into some direct questions for each of you guys about your businesses and how you work from a partner perspective to support these kinds of consumers. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. Mark Pyrrha. Mark, I think we're all jealous of you because you're in your workshop. You have a hat on. Do I have a hat? I really wish I had my hat. I got a really good camo hat I was going to show you guys. Anyway, Mark's in his work. He's having a cigar. He is definitely not taking life too seriously, but he is a very serious thought leader. So before you get into your business, what kind of cigar are you having today, Mark?
Actually, I'll be very honest with you. This is a cheapie factory smoke from cigars.com. Nothing exotic.
Nice plug. Make sure Mike picks up that sponsorship revenue there. I like it. Now, Abby and Colin have promised that if you submit an application on either of their products today, they will ignore the knockout question of cigar smoking.
Well, fortunately for me, both my life and disability insurance were issued many years ago before I picked up this nasty habit.
All right, man. All right. So tell us about InsuraMatch. And I know enough to be dangerous, but you tell such a great story. Take as much time as you need. We're doing great on time. And the foundational story of InsuraMatch is one of the things that I think is really interesting. So give us the rundown, would you?
Sure, for sure. Thanks, JT. Appreciate the opportunity here to talk to all you folks. So InsuraMatch, at its most basic level, right? InsuraMatch is a property casualty insurance agency. We're a national agency. We represent over 50 carriers, serving all of the property casualty product lines, anything from homes to autos to motorcycles to boats to jet skis, umbrella, jewelry, the whole 9 yards. In all states and in all segments. So our consumers look like the population of the country, right? Anything from a poor credit young kid buying his or her first, car, to anyone that would be on this call, a higher income, better credit score, more established family ties, home ownership, et cetera. We write the nation, so to speak. Our unique niche in the world, and much like Abby was talking about earlier, we're not a household brand and don't aspire to be, quite frankly. We are, to steal JT's kind of terminology, we are a platform that provides insurance as a service to other partners. And that's really what drives our clicks or phone calls into our sales center. It's really looking to identify those partners for whom insurance is a natural extension, or at least enough tangentially related to the core product that they're looking to sell or service to their client base. Our sales philosophy as an insurance agency, and sometimes that makes your skin itch a little bit, but our sales philosophy as an insurance agency is really rooted in consultation, education, and empowerment. We are not a high power, assumptive, aggressive closing shop at all. That's just not in my DNA personally, and it's not in our DNA corporately. In fact, our salespeople are called insurance advisors for a specific reason. We don't want them selling, we want them advising. If you do a good enough job advising, counseling, and educating the other person on the other end of that phone, the sales will come naturally. And that's really the philosophy around our sales environment. We want relationships, not processing transactions. We support partners with and we'll get into this in some of the follow-up Q&A. We support partners with a myriad of online and offline assets, and we really view ourselves as an extension of our partner's brand. We want the consumer journey to be effectuated in a seamless handoff. We want to co-brand or white label our services. We want to script the way in which we handle somebody else's clients. And we understand that that's an important distinction. They're someone else's clients. And mission critical number one for us is get out of the way. Don't screw up, fill in the blank. The home purchase, the loan, the auto refi, whatever the upstream partner's main business is, that's where we have to keep the focus on. We never want our insurance service to be viewed as an impediment or a hurdle that's going to get in the way of somebody closing the primary business sale that they're intending to drive. We want to be an added benefit, not a problem. And that affects really how we approach partnerships and the hoops that we'll jump through to make sure that we are viewed by our core partners as an added value or value add. A little bit about our kind of generation or origin story. We are part of a Northeast regional insurance company operation called Plymouth Rock. And for years, I ran Plymouth Rock's direct insurance division. I was a mini Geico. I sold insurance directly to consumers using direct mail and online marketing tactics. And in developing that flow of business, we quickly realized that we were spending money, marketing dollars, sales floor dollars to generate leads coming into our sales center, and not closing enough people to adequately cover the expense associated with bringing them in the front door in the first place. That was really because we were selling one product, Plymouth Rock Auto. So we went out and got appointments with other carriers, competitors, to sell their product. And JT's heard me say this 1,000 times. I play poker with my cards face up. So very transparent in conversations with peer companies at the time, saying, I'm going to try to sell Plymouth Rock first. If I can't, would you be willing to give me an appointment and I will sell your product as a secondary offering? And that concept of bringing multiple products and other carriers into a direct sales floor really formed the genesis of what ultimately became a business in its own right. And after doing that for a couple of years, we pitched, the board of directors on the development of a standalone company, a national agency platform. They invested in it, and I moved to run that operation. So, what started out as a monetization strategy ended up being a business, a bona fide business in its own right. That's a little bit about the history of where InsureMatch came from.
That's great. That's great. And I'll back up, because I've had the opportunity to work with each of these folks. I know a lot about kind of the partnership perspective for each. We're going to get into that in a minute, but InsureMatch has had some real success and driven some real success for their partners in helping mortgage customers secure an impediment to closing, which is a certificate of insurance for the home buyer. In fewer examples, that's relevant also to a refi, but in a purchase scenario, as we all know, it's important to secure that. So in a way, we've kind of got a two perspectives that our discussion will kind of follow today. Both Colin and Abby run businesses that provide a best-in-class solution to people once they've gotten a mortgage, okay? And for all types of other use cases. It's not the only reason, but that's sort of the linchpin of this discussion. Mark's business can provide a solution to these customers to actually help them close their endemic sort of commercial engagement. And so we're kind of in funnel with Mark on the mortgage side and post funnel with both Abby and Colin. I always, when I represent my business on a panel, value or benefit from hearing other people talk about theirs. And I always wish sometimes that I had another shot to add a thing or two. Mark did a great job. You all did a great job. But Abby and Colin, was there anything that you wanted to add after having the benefit of hearing hearing Mark chat about his business, or one another chat about their business?
Sure. Yeah, Colin, if you don't mind, I'll hop in first. Mark, I love what you said about this is not your client. It is the partner's client, and that you take care of them. I also love what you said about you're not a high pressure, beat it down your throat kind of sales organization, that you seek first to advise and educate, and then the sales will come from that. We take a similar stance, and I love it when other companies do that. I love seeing that. I think that's the way to go. So I will add a ditto onto what Mark said. That's great.
Colin, you want to add anything?
Yeah, no, I'll echo that too. You know, we built our product to be digital first. We have a team here that, is obviously here to help answer questions and kind of guide people through the underwriting process. But, the beauty of building digital first is the consumer can do it when they want to, regardless if they're in the line at Starbucks or it's 4 o'clock in the morning. So, we are very, I don't want to say hands off, but no high pressure, digital first, all about making it as easy as possible for the consumer.
That's great. That's great. Colin, I think I inappropriately linked disability insurance and critical illness insurance in my introduction. And I know that you're sort of expert on both, but more active in one than the other. Can you just briefly help us understand the difference between those products for those of us who aren't sort of full-on insurance tech and insurance experts?
Yeah, so we use income protection and disability insurance here kind of synonymously, but what disability insurance or income protection does, again, in the event that something happens, whether it's on or off the job, or it's a degenerative disease that, like a back issue that gets worse over time. If that is something that ends up keeping you, from going to work, you lose your ability to generate an income, our policy is going to step in and pay a monthly benefit to help keep you afloat. Critical illness is just another flavor of insurance. Typically, there are predefined of medical events that happen, whether that's cancer, whether that is an aneurysm. When you buy a critical illness policy, there are very clear diagnosis in there that if you end up getting that, it will pay out a lump sum for it. So you can kind of think of, that critical illness may plug the gap in between a high deductible health plan, where you're going to get that money up front to help pay your medical bills. Disability insurance and income protection steps in to replace your income month over month.
Great, thank you. And sorry for any confusion that may have caused. I got a note handed to me to the side to say, hey, fix this. So my bad, guys, but thank you.
All good.
Thank you for the clarity. All right. So we've got 4 questions lined up that I think will take us, through the end of this, but I also want to encourage audience participation. I somewhere in here have the ability to view those questions, and if they pop in, I'll be sure to mix them in, time permitting. But let's jump in here. The first question I want to ask is, how does your business cater to partnerships? And more specifically, those which involve you providing a service to another firm's customers. Some of you guys talked about that a little bit in the introduction, but this is an opportunity to really expand on it. Colin, you're on a roll, so I want to start with you. Can you talk about how you really think about partnerships and in particular, providing service and care to somebody else's client or customer?
Yeah, so we built Breeze, specifically on the back of partnership marketing. We work with a lot of fintechs. We work with a few different business loan lenders that require their borrowers to have some kind of income protection. But as I mentioned earlier, what we've done is really built everything API first. And so, that can be as involved, or the integration can be as tight as, and I'll talk through the lens of a mortgage issuer, passing in the monthly mortgage payment and being able to quote a borrower exactly how much it would cost to insure that payment through the use of disability insurance. We have some partners that, put a card inside of their application or a link off of their website to a co-branded page. So there's a lot of different ways that we really work with partners depending on how integrated they want to be. But again, we are here to support. We are here to make it very, very easy to quote and do it when and how that partner wants it to be done.
That's great. That's great. How common is it, Colin, for lenders to require income protection as part of the loan?
You'll see it in the SBA space quite a bit. Yep. So probably not as relevant to today's conversation, but on the business loan side, the SBA space, if you have an owner operator, that if that person goes down, the there's a high likelihood that business goes down. You'll see a lot of times a life or disability insurance requirement for that. Got
it. Very, very cool. Abby, same question for you. And you talked briefly about it, but here's an opportunity to really expand on it. How do you think about partnerships, and particularly, how do you care for somebody else's customer when they're in your environment?
Well, I think the most important thing is to take care of that customer. If the partner has recommended us to their client, then they need to trust us to take care of their client. We need to make them proud, basically. So I think taking care of the client in the way that the partner would hope for us to is the most important thing. And then also a lot of capabilities which I see as a separate question, but somewhat along the lines of what Colin was talking about, the front end of our website, partners typically will send people to a link, a unique link that we've given them, and we have comes into a co-branded web page on our side, and we do our very best to always identify who the partner was that sent them through, and then beyond that, it really is taking care of the client in the best way that we can.
That's great. That's great. You know, I can see in both of your cases how you're stepping in and providing an excellent standard of care and service for a new borrower truly kind of surrounds that person with support, that customer with support in light of their new debt portfolio, right? Their new debt load. And so I think that's really, really important. One of the things that we don't think about enough, in my opinion, as consumers, especially the first time we do something. So our home, as an example, is how we are, how we are changing our accountabilities and what would happen if something went. So I applaud that. I think that's great. Mark, you touched on it briefly within your introduction, but talk a little bit about what it looks like at InsuraMatch when you're really dealing with somebody else's customer. And you can bleed into some of these other questions if you'd like to, but how do you think about that service? Sorry, I got phone calls happening here. Anyway, how do you think about that service as being different from a direct response customer who came into InsuraMatch's environment through a paid channel or organic or something like that?
So I think that, in some respects, there are no differences. In other respects, there are many differences. What's not different is the core business philosophy of our company. Whether you come in through the front door, the back door, you crawl in through the window, you're going to get the same experience with respect to consultative, empowering, educational type sales process. So that's kind of who we are, and that extends to business from multiple different sources. What's very different is in our partnership platforms, there's kind of two types or two flavors of partnerships. One is kind of an endorsed referral. So in that instance, right, InsuraMatch is in its own right, its own brand, an endorsed partner of XYZ company. So they're coming over with an expectation of talking to someone who is not the upstream partner, some different company that's been vouched for and therefore referred. So there's an obligation there to live up to certain standards and handle that client appropriately, et cetera. What's most entangled in a good way, what's most entangled is when we are actually the white labeled service provider of an upstream brand's experience. So think of XYZ real estate company offering their clients an insurance marketplace.
Right.
We power the entire marketplace. It's our carrier appointments. We're driving the tech integrations to get rates. It's our salespeople. But in the eyes of the consumer, they're dealing with XYZ company's marketplace. So in that sense, our treatment of those clients is really stepping fundamentally in the shoes of the upstream partner. It's not a handoff or a vouched for referral. We are that company. Now, there's some disclosure issues and licensing and compliance. I don't want to, skirt past those. Those are important, and we handle them appropriately. But from a consumer perspective, we really are standing in the shoes of that upstream partner. So everything from the greeting to the collateral to the sales maturation process and how we communicate and develop and nurture quotes into sales is all done from the branded perspective of the upstream partner, whose white labeled process we are supporting and powering. So it's a much more detailed consumer focus in that regard vis-a-vis the brand of the upstream partner.
That's great. Hey guys, a couple adjustments here. We've pulled down the screen share to make it possible for you to see all of our panelists more clearly, and also to address a bandwidth concern that we were having on my end. I think that was slowing it down. We've also had a couple questions come in from the audience, which we are going to get to. I'm going to ask one or two more of our kind of program questions, mostly in fairness to our panelists who got to prepare for these before I start hitting them with the surprise gotcha questions. All right, so I'm going to lump questions 2 or 3 for our panelists into one. So I want to talk about best practices when partnering with this audience, and in particular in a lending environment, if you have some of that experience. If not, feel free to skip that part of it. And also tools and capabilities that you've put in place and found useful. So best practices and some common tools and utilities that you use to power your businesses, particularly in a partnership perspective. And after that, we're going to go off book, and I'm going to start peppering you guys with surprise questions. So get ready. All right, let's start. Abby, you did such a good job on that last one. I want you to kick us off on this first one. Okay, tools,
sure.
Technologies, proprietary code. Just go ahead and share it on the screen for us. And best practices. Jump in.
Sure. So we have written everything. We own all of, we're control freaks, I guess. We wrote our first quote engine in 1997, 96, 97, something like that. So we work with the insurance carriers. They provide us with rates. We've written our own CRM, we've written our own agency management system. So everything is tied together, everything talks to each other, and that gives us a lot of flexibility to provide more tools and capabilities to our partners. One thing is we have a real-time tracking portal, which we give our partners a login to. They can log in, see everything in real time. Since it goes into our own database, they can see how many people have visited the website under their link, how many people have turned into a lead. We also have APIs, we have white label, we have widgets. Then there are, I would guess, mortgage lenders who are also life licensed, who want to be a bit more involved, maybe not in the selling of life insurance, but we can put them on the application and just share straight how, just share part of the commission, just half the commission with them. And then if they are on the license, that also gives them a lot more information that they can look at on the client. They can see what's going on, where are they in underwriting, how we can CC them. So it depends on how the partner would want to work with us and what makes the most sense. But we've built out a lot, and everything that we built has been on a need that a partner had, and they wanted to do something. We thought it was a great idea, and we built it. So then that gives it to everybody else. It also gives us unlimited opportunities for what we can build in the future too.
That's great. Thanks, Abby. Colin, same one for you. Tools and capabilities. You talked a little bit about being API driven and kind of being a first mover on that, and some best practices in terms of partnering. You've got a lot of deep experience here. You wanna chat a little bit about that?
Yeah. So again, I'll echo what Abby said. I think every partner is a little different, and one of the things that we start with at the beginning is I'd almost call it like a needs analysis of what is kind of step 1, step 2, step 3. A lot of times you're kind of starting with the lowest hanging fruit with the intention of kind of moving into a deeper integration. But we share all the data throughout the entire funnel with our partners. We have a transparent real-time tracking system that we give our partners access to. So big proponents of sharing as much data as we possibly can. Sometimes an email offer or an email follow-up cadence may perform or work better or be a better fit than doing a full quote. So there's a lot of flexibility in how we work with our partners, with the goal of trying to figure out what is performing best and what works well for both sides.
That's great. That's awesome. Mark, I know you've built a number of tools, and a few of them particularly speak to homeowners in terms of how they can retrieve an insurance quote as part of their mortgage borrowing process, but that your tool set is kind of stretched across the partner ecosystem. Best practices, utilities, kind of things that you find are particularly important in your service of partnerships?
Yep. So I alluded to this in the opening comments. I mean, one of the best practices for us, quite frankly, is do our job and get the hell out of the way. You know, get to real estate closing, get to that loan being, issued. That's the primary objective. So wherever we fit in that commerce train, fit in there, do it well, do it efficiently, do it timely, give the loan officer exactly what they need when they need it, so that Tuesday at 3:00 when the lawyers are in the conference room, they can close. That's a very big best practice, big focus of us when we're dealing in this particular real estate mortgage vertical. If I take a step back, from that, one of the best practices, if you will, is communicate early and often with your upstream partner. What is it that they want? What is it that they need? And then with a clear understanding of the scope of what they're doing and how they think you can be plugged into their consumer journey, build out the necessary technology tools, online, offline, scripting, integrations, access to data through APIs or real-time dispositioning around that clear understanding of how this process is going to work, soup to nuts. What we don't want to do as a partner is create points of jarring experiences. You have a smooth transaction up until this point, and then there's a speed bump, and then it gets smooth again, then there's another speed bump. We want to
wait for you.
Yeah, there you go. No jarring points in the process. Like the other two colleagues had mentioned, providing access to data and being very transparent with respect to disposition, with an eye towards collectively and collaborating, optimizing the process is something that we're also built to support and do routinely with upstream partners.
That's great. That's great. So we've gotten some audience questions, and they align somewhat with the last question that I had listed for you guys. But I'm going to read this one from the audience, and we've got 3 of them, but we'll hit this first one. Are there any particular attributes of a partnership that you really look for? Or can you provide a description for our audience today who may represent, interesting partner prospects for you about what you're looking for within this category in a partner? Colin, are you up for taking that one first? Like sort of what you look for in a partner. And then in particular within the space, if there's anybody out there who's kind of thinking about this discussion and they've been able to sort of gain a new way of thinking around how to treat their customers, talk about what you're looking for in a partner from a prospect perspective.
Yeah, so I'd say, specific to the mortgage industry, first and foremost, a partner that understands the importance of income protection. Sometimes lenders will have, the default rates kind of baked into the rates to begin with. And that, you're hedging the bed of default that is benefiting the company, but missing or benefiting the lender, but missing the opportunity to really provide a solution to the borrower, in the event that something happens that is, going to help keep them on their feet. So I'd say first and foremost, somebody that, recognizes that it's a really important piece of just the overall financial, I'll call financial protection, portfolio. So, we look for people that are great to work with, that kind of match the culture of our team, that want to, try new things and find solutions to, to help their clients. So,
Yeah.
That's probably where I would start.
So let me paraphrase and read this back to you. I think that for you, an ideal partner is somebody who, A, really cares about their customer beyond just that loan, but also sees the benefit that you provide to them in the term, in in terms of providing a defense against default, right? It helps theoretically sort of de-risk their loan portfolio as well. Is that right?
Absolutely. And you know, a lot of time a borrower in that specific situation is stuck in between, you know, a lot of times it's not just the mortgage loan that you have, right? It's the student loan, it's the auto loan, it's the, you know, putting food on the table. So you're really providing, you know, a solution that is helping them, you know, not have to make the really tough decisions of, you know, if something were to happen, what do I do with the, you know, how quickly are my savings going to be drained? How quickly are my, you know, is my retirement fund going to be absolutely wiped out because I have to use that to, you know, to cover it. So
that's important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So and I don't want to spend too much time because we're getting a little long in the tooth on our overall panel, and I want to make sure Mike's got time to transition. But I find it so fascinating that folks would say that they are, you know, they bake in default due to you know, illness or injury, and that they wouldn't want to address that. So don't respond to that because we've only got 5 minutes left. I'm getting the time check here, but I will say for you, that's crazy. And if a business like Collins can protect your customers and de-risk your portfolio, keep baking breakage into it, but do something about it too. I think that makes a lot of sense. And we'd love to help anybody have that conversation with Colin. Abby, and forgive me for speaking for you a little bit, but I'm just kind of working against a time crunch here. I kind of feel like the same attributes, knowing you as well as I do, that Colin just mentioned. So caring about that customer, but also caring about de-risking the portfolio by encouraging life insurance would apply. Would you agree with that? I think Abby's on mute, so I'm going to answer for her. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, yes.
And JT,
sorry. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Exactly what Colin said. And yes, piggyback right on that one.
Awesome. What do you love in a partner?
Directly to me?
Yep.
I love a partner who is who believes in our mission, who believes in what we're doing, who believes that life insurance is the right thing for their client, who cares about their client, and who wants to build with us and grow with us and try new things.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you. This is a really good conversation, and it's gone very well. Rather than have Mark answer this, Mike, you're jumping in. Are you taking over?
No. I'm just coming in. I sounded like you were going to wrap up, so I was hopping in. But yeah, keep going, please. I'm enjoying it.
Thanks, Dad.
A couple minutes.
Thanks, Dad. All right, so Mark, what do you look for in a partner? Attributes that kind of drive you to get excited about working with somebody, and in particular, you know, what you're looking for in new partners.
So I think from my perspective, a couple things, right? We're looking for a company that has commitment, not curiosity. You know, are you in or are you dabbling? If you're dabbling, maybe we can help develop some resources and pilot some small program, but commitment. We're also looking for, you know, partners that want to be engaged and have the resources to continue to be engaged, because you don't get it right the first time you launch it. There requires a lot of kind of elbow grease on our part, on the partner's part, to optimize the relationship, the workflows. It's a lot of work. So we're looking for commitment, engagement, and resources. Two other things. Pain points, problems. If everything's working splendidly and really well for our partner, I don't know that there's a problem or a pain point that we can help solve. So problems and pain points are important to us because we can help collaborate and brainstorm solutions. And then the last thing, and Colin spoke about it, and Abby as well, is just cultural fit. You know, life's too short to work with people you think are knuckleheads. So we want to work with people we enjoy. We want to, present company excluded, JT. We want to work with people we enjoy, where there's a cultural and a personal fit.
That's great. You touched on something. Mike's going to take over in just a second, but I'm not going to let him take the hook from me just yet. This is than test lead gen source. There's got to be a real commitment to work through the kinks and build a partnership together, because it's not going to be like integrating with somebody's ping post system and all of a sudden the floodgates open. This is taking customers from one environment into another, building seamless, providing them with service that they need. And so it's so critical. If you value strategic partnership, and I'm happy to talk to anybody offline or set up a follow-up discussion, you have to have the long game in mind, and you have to treat it like it's farm to table meal preparation as opposed to fast food. Because the amount of work and resources and time and energy and passion that will flow out of folks like Mark, like Abby, and like Colin into creating these relationships demands from the partner some patience and an equal level of investment to kind of build together. What you'll end up with is a tremendous lift on lifetime value, promoter score, and customer satisfaction on your end, and probably a revenue stream that you didn't even know was there, hidden in plain sight, but you got to do the work. I think that's a great place to wrap. And guys, I'm sorry we didn't get to all of the questions, but candidly, you surprised me with how many you asked, and we're happy to follow up offline. Thank you.
Yep.
Mike,
Yeah, no, that was great. Yeah, thank you very much, guys. It was really, I think you just hit the nail on the head too with the fast food analogy, is that a lot of times companies are those quick partnerships in air quotes, which is, ping post leads and all that sort of stuff, but really solidifying partnerships with other companies that can help these clients together is something that is often too hard, right? It's not as easy. Yeah. Right. But it's not, and there's so much value in those. And so it was really interesting to hear the whole conversation. Like you said, if anybody has any other questions or wants to pick your brain, they can reach out to you, JT, and then you can disseminate the information to the panelists and go from there. But thank you all for joining. It was great. And I wish you the best rest of the week.